We all want more runtime for our Starlink Mini, and the standard 99 watt-hour airline limit on most batteries can leave us wanting a little bit more juice when we're away at camp. So when CTMods reached out to me offering their 129.5 watt-hour battery pack, I was excited. It promised a massive capacity increase and a clean integrated mount. But what started as a promising review turned into a serious safety hazard while I was at camp, and it completely changed my perspective on reviewing lithium power banks. What's up everybody, I'm Eamon and welcome back to Bush Business. Today we're going to be putting the CTMods Starlink Mini battery pack through its paces, and I'll show you exactly why this review went sideways. Quick disclosure, CTMods did send me this battery to review, there is no sponsorship, no payment, and nobody has any input on my results, and this video is going to prove that for you anyway. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for me because this video is going to light a huge fire, almost literally as I experienced. Let's get stuck straight into it, starting off with the physical design and mounting. This is actually an area where CTMods did a fantastic job. The battery clips into the Starlink Mini seamlessly. It is light, compact, and has an integrated foot stand, built-in threads for mounting to a tripod, and a really nice quick release mechanism for easy removal. It is a well thought out design when you don't want to break your fingers trying to pull the battery out of the Starlink Mini. Looking at the interface, it is very basic, but just as with previous reviews, basic isn't always a bad thing as long as things work properly. You get a single on-off button, a few LED lights to indicate the power level and the discharge state, and there is no display screen or Bluetooth connectivity or app control. Now, let's talk about the inputs and outputs because this is where things start falling over for this power bank. There are 4 ports in total, 1 input and 3 outputs. The ports on the face of the battery bank are protected with a rubber strip. The output port on the rear is a barrel style connector, and this is going to be weather sealed as you plug the cable inside it. Despite having 2 USB-C ports, the input port to charge this power bank is the DC port, and it specifically requires 30 to 35 volts at 2 amps. I really didn't like this because I didn't have a single method at home or in my Land Cruiser to charge this battery. I had to find an AC to DC Starlink wall adapter to charge it. Not something I will ever carry on my travels, and all of my power for my Starlink Mini, both at home and in the Land Cruiser, runs on 12 volt lithium or USB-C. I don't have a single cable with a voltage step-up converter. For the outputs, there is a DC connector to power the Starlink Mini, and then there are 2 USB-C ports which have a maximum output of 65 watts. You can't charge this battery using USB-C, and in 2026, this is a massive oversight. It makes this battery not usable by the 99.9% of the population who don't own a Starlink Mini. Now, let's talk about the actual power capacity as validated with my discharge tester. Just like all my other battery tests, DC was tested using constant power draw of 30 watts with a cutoff of 11.5 volts. USB-C was tested at 20 volts and 1.5 amps, and this gives us a draw of 30 watts as well, with a voltage cutoff of 18 volts. The advertised capacity of the CTMods battery is 129.5 watt hours. DC output provided 111.7 watt hours of power with a runtime of 3 hours and 43 minutes. However, when I tested the USB-C output, efficiency dropped drastically. It only delivered 91 watt hours and a runtime of 3 hours and 7 minutes. And this works out to be an efficiency rating of about 86% for the DC output, which isn't too bad, but only 70% for the USB-C, which is rather poor. From my testing, it does look like this battery might allow pass-through charging, meaning that you can use it and charge it at the same time, but there are no official claims about it on the website. However, given what I'm about to share with you next, I'm quite hesitant to recommend using this battery while it's still charging at the same time. And now let's talk about the near meltdown because it really scared me. During every trip, I like to do real-life testing for every new tool or bit of equipment that I might have with me. And in my recent trip a few days ago, I decided to use this power bank to power my MacBook Pro and my 19-inch portable monitor via USB-C while I do some work inside of my tent. This combination generally draws about 70 watts of power, and then it drops down to about 30 watts once the laptop is charged. Because the power draw is not huge, I have been using power banks in my tents for years to save my lithium battery in my canopy for more important things. And I like to experience every single power bank in this way because it lets me see how stable the power delivery is. Something you can't really see when you plug it in and walk away. A test that has been successfully completed by every Starlink power bank that I've ever reviewed. Links to those reviews are in the description below for you to watch later if you're interested. During this test, the charging was slow and I didn't really take much notice of it. However, as the CTMods battery approached 0% charge, the power delivery became erratic and started cutting in and out. Another reason why I like to do this test. I immediately disconnected the USB-C cable to protect my laptop and monitor from being damaged, and this happened. Alright, so a little bit concerned about the CTMods power bank at the moment. I've had it connected to the USB-C, just charging my laptop while it's doing its thing. I'm obviously at camp and I'm working in my mobile office, and it is incredibly hot now. Hope it's not going to catch fire or anything, but also it's not turning on and off. So the power was cutting in and out. I don't remember seeing this on the battery before, so that might just be the glue starting to melt from the heat. When I go home, I'll redo the test and see if it's lost any capacity, if it's still working, that is, because yeah. After this, I decided it wasn't safe to keep the battery inside of my tent, and despite being in the middle of the bush, in the middle of the night, I climbed down my tent in the cold and grabbed my thermal camera. Through the thick plastic casing, I could see that the internals of this battery were overheating. The plastic cover was reading 54 degrees Celsius at its hottest, and the batteries were clearly very hot. I can only imagine how hot they would have been actually inside of the case, not through the plastic. And I'm really fortunate that I didn't go to sleep leaving the battery plugged in to charge my laptop, which is what I normally do. I could have woken up in flames in the middle of a dense dry forest in the middle of nowhere with no phone signal, no car, and nothing. Once this battery completely cooled down the next day, the button did start working again, and I recharged the battery to see if it was still working, and it worked as normal. To give you a baseline of what a safe operating temperature looks like, I used my other battery pack that looked like this one. I ran the exact same test using the Peak Dew battery. The Peak Dew reached a maximum of 35 degrees Celsius only, and the battery safely stopped discharging when the charge was 0%. And this just highlights that there was a bit of an abnormality with this battery. Normally, this is also the part of the video where I would conduct my garden hose rain test, and to be completely honest, given the severe safety issue I already experienced, the last thing I need is a fire in my backyard. Therefore, we're going to be skipping the water test for now. With all of this said and done, what's my final verdict about this battery pack? Look, it's great to see that manufacturers are trying to deliver higher capacity integrated power banks for the Starlink Mini at good pricing, and I appreciate them reaching out to me to test them. However, a safety concern like a lithium battery overheating and not shutting off completely is very concerning. I hope that this critical flaw is limited to just the USB-C output and just this unit itself, but when you combine that safety risk with the poor USB-C efficiency, the lack of USB-C charging, and the absence of a display screen or app, this product is not up to par with the alternative options that I've tested so far, and because of that, I can't currently recommend it to my viewers. The alternatives that I have reviewed offer much higher efficiency, better features, and most importantly, they are safer. I will be reaching out to CTMods to get their opinion on this incident after they watched this review, and if they can confirm that this was an isolated defect and provide a replacement for me to retest, I'm happy to share a follow-up video. However, ethically, my duty of care is to you guys, the viewers, and I can't sit on a serious safety concern just to protect the manufacturer or push a product for the sake of getting affiliate commission. So for now, my advice to you is to save your money and consider the alternative power banks on this channel that aren't going to put your gear, your vehicle, or your family at risk. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these results? Am I being a little bit too harsh? And do you agree with me on the way that I handled this review? Also, if you appreciate this kind of honest testing and review, please hit that like and subscribe button for me, because I can only imagine that many companies are not going to be supporting me if I stay this honest with reviewing their products. But with your help, I can at least keep this channel growing and this content flowing. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.